Thank you. Hi, I'm Jeanine.
And I'm Pat.
And this is live from the Lair.
And we're Zooming this episode because there's clearly a pandemic going on. And we were not able to get together to record an episode. But obviously, we wanted to talk about what's going on because it's the only thing that we could conceivably talk about right now. We're not going to interview a fucking comedian or something like that. Wouldn't make sense.
We wanted to stay relevant,
right? And obviously, me and Jeanine have been keeping in contact during this, and we have completely different experiences. We're going to start off talking about Jeanine. Jeanine has basically been sheltering in place for the past month and a half.
Yeah.
I am an essential worker, not because I'm a podcaster, but because of my day job, and. Pause for laughter because podcasters are not essential workers.
Not yet.
But yeah, I think, we were kind of talking about our different experiences, and we realized that between the two of us, we both have very different stories. We have very different experiences with what's going on right now. But kind of between the two of us, we have something that I think would apply to most people. If you're not necessarily all in one camp or the other. People can relate, and I think it's good that we, kind of check in with each other and see how everyone's making do of this crazy time. So we're gonna start with Jeanine, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So when did you first suspect that something was amiss?
So I guess I'll give you a little backstory. So I'm out in the suburbs. And I had been let go of work completely unrelated in January, end of January.
Okay.
So end of January, since I was out of work, I decided to renovate my house. So I had a lot of workers here and a lot of things going on here. And one of my workers was actually, ironically enough, he got sick. And shortly after that, I got sick. Now, I don't think it's COVID or anything. He had a really bad sinus and infection and bronchitis.
And this was like February, right? Or January?
This was like mid-February at this time.
Okay.
Because the project was pretty much underway at this time. He called off like a day or two, was really sick and coughing and things like that. Again, not confirmed that it was COVID or anything. I don't even think it was. He was diagnosed by his doctor with bronchitis and a really bad sinus infection. Fast forward a couple weeks later, I get the same thing, except for I don't get the bronchitis. So I am sick. Literally, I was sick for like a month's time. So I was already kind of in the shut-in mode during all of this.
Right.
Because I was just, again, laying in bed, laying around the house, and workers were coming in and out still, but it was a very concentrated area of the house. I had gone out to the doctor, and because I had had this like really bad sore throat for like a week. And I finally decided that I'd go to the doctor. And by the time I had gotten an appointment and such, my sore throat had turned into just like a complete head cold. So I went in, I couldn't hear out of my ears, everything was plugged up. And when I got into the doctor's office, this is when I like knew something was wrong, because I went in for my appointment, and while there wasn't like an overcrowding in the office itself, in the waiting room, they had masks at the front and hand sanitizer, and they were dividing people with COVID-like symptoms to one side of the waiting room and making them wear a mask.
And this was when? This would have been when?
This was the end of February.
Okay.
So this is when it's like first hit our area or whatever, or we were first starting to, see signs of this going on. And it was end of February, maybe first week of January, and
end of February, first week of March.
Or excuse me, yes. And thank you.
I was running backwards over there. I just got to say real quick, I don't like the fact that this makes it look like you're taller than me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sitting.
I don't know if I need to sit up straight or I need to sit closer or what, or actually further back or something. But it's like,
I'm sorry.
I don't know. It's fucking with me. But anyway, go on.
Edit it so I'm smaller. So it ended up, I get into the actual office waiting for the doctor, and the doctor comes in and he's like suited up. And I'm like, fuck, the nurse came in, she was fine. She wasn't suited up. She like checked my temperature, asked got all my vitals. And the doctor came in and he like you could tell he didn't want to like touch me. He's wearing the mask. He's like washing his hands before and after me, which is all the things that
guys normally do around you.
Right. They normally do, but like I don't usually notice it. And the face mask freaked me out.
Okay. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, you know, he looked at me and said, okay, it sounds like a sinus infection, gave me antibiotics, and I was on my way. But that's where I first knew it was bad. So right after I went to the doctor, I'm like, you know what?
And if you had heard coronavirus or COVID-19 at this point, like it was in the back of your head that this thing was going around and you might have it, or?
I didn't think I had it because my symptoms were plugged ears, like my nose was all stuffed up. I could not taste or smell, but at the time we didn't know that was like something that was
sure. Yeah.
And hello, I was diagnosed with a sinus infection. So
yeah.
Of course, that's like what happens when you have a sinus infection. Not that I get them a lot, but I would think you can't smell, and I can't. My ears were all plugged. You can't taste either. So, with all that going on, it really freaked me out, and they gave me an antibiotic, prescribed an antibiotic. So, I'm like, oh shit, I better go to the store and just get essentials. So
what made you say that then? Because
I'm neurotic in some sense. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit. I wouldn't say I'm a prepper. I don't have like my backpack like set, but I've always been. I don't know how to explain it. Like I've always I have a very creative mind, and I read a lot. And Stephen King, The Stand, like that freaks me out. Any sort of movies like Contagion and things like that, that's always freaked me out. So I don't want people to think, oh, Jeanine's this total freak and she's afraid of everything. But like, I kind of know how things pan out from just like reading history books, and I just like to learn. So like I know things medically, like this isn't going to end well. We know it's going to be bad. Now how bad, nobody knew at this time. So
no one knows now. I mean, yeah.
Exactly.
We're in the middle of it.
Or what's going on. So at the time I kind of thought ahead. I went to the grocery store. Again, at that time it was not crazy, but people were very much like not touching each other, just grabbing what they needed and going. But there wasn't crazy lines. There wasn't anything like that. So fast forward like the next week, 10 days, antibiotics are over. I'm still not well. So the doctor says over the phone. So now they're not like taking people in the actual office to come back. Because now we're into March, close to the actual like lockdown dates that we had. And they advised that I go to an ear doctor. So that was on the 18th of March. And that was pretty much the last time I went out. And that was another day where I actually wore a bandana. And this wasn't, this is how neurotic I am. Like I already knew, I'm like, okay, crap. Well, if this stuff is spreading, I don't have a mask, so I'm going to wear my bandana. I brought gloves with me, hand sanitizer, like on my hip, like I knew just going into a doctor, and it wasn't a hospital, it was a doctor's office, but I actually had to call around to see who was still open, because one of the doctors that your doctor is supposed to go to was at a hospital. They wouldn't even let us in a hospital at that time. They closed down. So I knew things were getting serious, and so that day, again, I went to the grocery store and I stocked up even more. And that was probably the scariest thing, and that's probably why I'm kind of freaked out right now, because I ended up going to an Aldi because I wanted some canned goods and some soups and some crackers and things like that, because I still wasn't feeling good myself and knew those things would be good pantry items. So I go to the Aldi, and I don't know if you're familiar with Aldi. Like, I don't know if I'm the only cheap one here, but you walk in and it's long aisles, and there's
it's just like shit on pallets and stuff, and you just walk around. Yeah.
High, so you can't really see. So and it's kind of a maze that goes through. So I walk in, and it's like cereals and chips and things like that. And I'm like, just looking at stuff like Pop-Tarts or whatever, and thinking of things that will last in the pantry for a while, because although they're saying we're going to be in for 2 weeks, as we can see, it's been 2 months now. I was convinced I'd need at least a month's worth of food and supplies.
Right.
So I kind of went through, and I'm thinking, oh, it's not that bad, there's nobody here. And as I get around the end of the aisle, the shelves are just fucking empty. And there's people lined all the way to the back of the store once I get to the back of the store. And that was my aha moment, if you will. And I was like, fuck, it's going down and this is scary. And the next thing I did is I went to pick up my prescription at like Walgreens, and I stocked up on cold medicine. So cough suppressants, cough drops, any sort of like anti-fever medicine. I looked for a thermometer, couldn't find one. I went online on Walmart and I ordered things that I couldn't find in the store, like Gatorade, Lysol, things like that. So I was very proactive, and as a result, I now have those things. Now, Walmart's delivery took like weeks, but I have those things. Now it's been a month and a half, or is it a month and a half? I think it's been now. And now I'm starting to run out of those things, and now it's like a race to find them. Things are a little bit better, but.
And is that the last time that you left the house? Like in any significant like
Nope.
capacity?
February 18th is the last time I physically left my house.
Well, you're talking about like March 18th going to Aldi.
March. I keep saying that. March 18th is the last time I left my house, and that was for the doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
I have not left the house since, except to, go out to my backyard and get some fresh air, or to drive the car around the block because, the battery died because I didn't move it for a month. And then when I went to go actually start it, my parents were like, you should probably see if your car still runs. And then the battery was dead.
So that the car doesn't work anymore?
I jumped it, and I have one of those battery packs.
Okay.
I don't need another car. My mom actually dropped it off on Easter for me. They had it and let me borrow it.
The Easter Bunny brought it was in your basket?
The Easter Bunny brought me a battery pack to charge my
So
car.
that's 6 weeks yesterday that you've been in that fucking house.
Yeah, I don't leave. Prior to the 18th, I walked around the block a couple times with the dog. I would take the dogs for a walk.
Right.
Short distances. There's a park by me, but once shit got real, once people were like, we're locking down and people were dying in like droves, or cases were just popping up all over, that's when I just kind of went, this is more serious than anything I've been through.
Yeah.
I understand I'm kind of taking it to the extreme measure, like a lot.
No, I don't think you're alone. I think there's a lot of people that have not left the house in 6 weeks. I do.
I'm glad you like sympathize with my neurotic behavior, because I talked to my parents. That first week, the first 2 weeks, I was just like crying. Like, I'm not quarantining with anyone. Like, I'm by myself in this house, and I've got 2 dogs, yeah, but they don't have thumbs, so they can't really help me like dial the phone or like in case anything were to happen. So my fear is definitely catching it and being so sick that I can't breathe, and then where do I go? I can't
Right.
drive myself to the emergency room anymore. I can't call a neighbor or a friend for help because I'm contagious.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're irrational fears. I think
No.
they're very real. But I've had friends that are like, you should talk to a therapist. Like, you should talk to somebody after all this. Like, but I think I'm smart. Like, I don't think I'm being stupid in this, or I don't think I'm being too irrational.
I think everybody is going to walk away from this thing with a little bit of PTSD. I can't imagine. This is fucking with everybody in different ways, and that's kind of what I wanted to get to today. But like, yeah, number one, yeah, I think everybody's gonna need a stiff drink and somebody to talk to when this is done.
Yeah.
But I wish that I would have, just a spoiler alert, in the third segment, we're going to bring in some guests. One of my friends, we're not super close, but like a Twitter buddy, she's participating in like a support group
Oh,
that that they're doing where like you just get together with people, and she does it like it's like after work. So like 5:30 a couple times a week, like they all get together on Zoom and they talk about what they're going through, and this is what I kept me up last night, and this is what I had a nightmare about, and this is what I'm worried about today. And
I can see that being useful. I have a friend that's a nurse that I talk to a lot, and I have a friend that's a therapist a lot, that gives advice and things like that. But I could see how that would be useful, but really my friends and relatives have been supportive in this.
Right.
For me, that's all I need is an outlet. I just want somebody to listen to me and, you tell me your fears, I'll tell you my fears. And like you said, spoiler alert, we're going to talk to people in the third segment. And I'm sure you're going to hear folks are as scared as me. But then you're going to hear the opposite end of the spectrum. I mean, I don't know if you can see behind me, I have this picture window, and I basically sit on that couch and read, watch TV, and look out the window all day, and I see my neighbors around me, and I see them going about their business as best as possible, right? So they're mowing the lawn. I've seen other neighbors come to, meet at the front yard and like drinking beers together and chit-chatting. Now they're 6 feet apart for the most part, but I see other people where they're having maybe friends or coworkers or relatives come in and out, and they're like, I have one guy across the street from me that's some sort of repairman, and he oftentimes has it looks like coworkers that'll pick up tools, and I'm thinking, like, these people are kind of going about their day normally, the new normal. They're not afraid to go out of their house. Am I being crazy? Like, the old lady that lives down, I mean, she's old lady, she takes a walk every day, with her cane, and she goes like 4 houses down and 4 houses up, and I'm like, I don't even want to walk outside. Like,
well, what if you're not like licking doorknobs or getting coughed in like your mouth, like you can go for a walk,
I think I was okay.
You think like a breeze is going to come and like bring it or something? Or like, I'm not trying to clown on you. I'm like legitimately asking.
No, because people ask me this and I'm trying to rationalize it to people too. So 2 things. So I'm watching people at the window, and they're running by and they're walking by. And one day this guy was walking his dog in front of the house, and I see him, he's spitting on the sidewalk. And I'm like, all right, I'm relatively smart. I was a biology assistant, back in school, and I know he's spitting on the ground, and then I go out there and I walk in it, and then maybe I traipse it into my house on my shoe. We don't know a lot about the virus, so I don't know if I'm being crazy. Same thing, you're out in the yard. My neighbors are gardening and mowing their lawn, on the weekends, just like I've been out in the yard doing the same thing. And if my neighbor next door sneezes and, the breeze is going 20 miles an hour or whatever, and is that in the air? Like, can I get it if I'm not wearing a mask in my yard, but I'm by myself and I'm more than 6 feet away? I think
let's look at this like, as someone that plays Dungeons and Dragons, like, you would have to like think about it. Like, okay, first, number one, they would have to have it. And I don't know how much we're going to get into numbers, but me and you talk numbers today. And what percentage of people in Cook County have it? Half of 1%. So
again,
yes, and it could be higher, but that just means that there's even more people that have it that don't have symptoms, which means it's
right.
not killing them. But first of all, for any of these things to get past step 1, they have to have it.
Right.
And that would just means that old lady cutting her, who is in perfect health, who's healthy enough to be like, gardening. Number 1, she has it. She's infectious in the first place. Right. Then number 2, she's got a cough or sneeze or whatever, and the air current has to bring these things.
It's very rare. Right?
And then I wish I could reach into your thing and fucking go like that, but you know what I mean? Like, you're talking about like one in a billion shot that could happen. And I know that like you're thinking, well, okay, but if I just stay in, then it's a 0 in a billion. I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Again,
I'm extreme. And I have a lot of questions for you too, because you're kind of out there in it, but same thing with groceries, right? So I'm not seeing anybody, nobody's coming in and out of my life, essentially. Again, the air, we don't know, it's probably not in the air. You would think we'd hear more cases happening of, well, she was inside the whole time, she still got the virus, like, how did that work? Oh, it must be here, like, you would hear that. Groceries, totally paranoid, because just think of all the people that are stocking the shelves and touching those, and especially vegetables. I'm a vegetarian, so I don't.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. How long has that been going on?
But for like a couple of years now, but
oh shit, okay.
I actually started vegan and like could not do it, so now I'm doing the vegetarian thing, and I'm kind of like a cheater. Like I don't eat meat at all, but then like I definitely put eggs back in my diet because I wasn't getting enough protein, and so I cheat a little. But to my point, you know, I want all the fresh produce. That's what I eat, and now I'm proactively thinking like, all right, I know before, like pre-COVID, all these people, you'd go in and they'd be touching all the apples and touching all the potatoes, you know, whatever the stuff is that's just free form out in the veggie aisles. And now I'm thinking, all right, let me strategically, I've been ordering Instacart. And so let me strategically think of how I'm going to order my groceries. So what I'm doing is I want carrots that are in a plastic bag. So when I get them, I can take the plastic bag away, wash the carrots, you know, wash this, wash that. So same thing with like boxes of what I eat. If I'm getting a box of pasta, I'm going to open the box, put it in a plastic bag or something, discard the box. So, you know, I'm very suburban, and I recently got a refrigerator out in my garage. Like most suburban people, I don't know if that's like a suburb thing or not, but
you know what? As soon as we've been talking about getting a new fridge, and when I do, I will keep the old one in the garage for my beer and shit. You know?
It reminds me of like where I grew up. Everyone had a fridge in their garage, but I've been using that fridge in my garage to quarantine things. So I order Instacart, and then for 5 to 7 days, I keep everything in the fridge or in the garage to quarantine it. Then I bring it in and clean it off.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like nuts. Like
nuts people don't think they're nuts though. That's the thing. You know, seriously, they don't. They fucking think they're normal and you're crazy. I've lived with these people before, I know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to diagnose you. It sounds like I said, like my experience is so completely different, and we'll take a break and then get to that I think you're living like a lot of people are. I don't think you can be too hard on yourself, you know. And I mean, let's face it, you're pretty much doing exactly what they're telling you to do.
Yeah.
Like you're not taking too many crazy liberties with your routine. This is pretty much Jeanine's pretty much doing, like, she's a teacher's pet. Like she's doing, you're going through the checklist and you're doing the shit that you're supposed to be doing, you know.
Yeah. And the takeaway from this is that it does upset me that I'm stuck inside by myself. So anybody out there, if you want to DM me or
don't be using this as your fucking
come on. Dick pics, like it's help me keep me entertained, because I mean, I'm like scrolling down my phone list of like, who haven't I talked to, because I'm so bored. And I mean, I'm taking an online class, and I can't concentrate on anything because I'm always thinking of, oh my gosh, I woke up with a little bit of a dry throat. No, I haven't, you know, like, what do I do now?
But you haven't, but that's the thing. You haven't been exposed to anything in so long. Like if you were to wake up tomorrow and feel sick, like what would you legitimately think that it was even from?
It could only be from the groceries or gardening in the lawn. And then I would be that case that everyone would be like, oh my gosh, it's morphed.
Right, because you think you're so fucking special.
Well, I am special. But in this case with COVID, I don't want to be special.
Right. You're 1 in a million, kid. Yeah, exactly.
So, well, let's go ahead and take a little musical break, and then we'll get back, and I want to talk to you a little bit about your experience.
Cool. All right. Sounds good.
Radio check. Is anybody there right now?
The spacecraft is fired from orbit to the moon.
Okay, tab 4. Radio 1. Yo, Mars Gallagher, is that you on the beat? Hello? It's MOECYRUS, all capital letters, none of that lowercase bullshit. Is anybody there? Yo, been brushing my teeth to stay fresh, that's affirmative. Got my house cleaner than the mother scooter, COVID never heard of it. I'm inhaling Lysol cans and Mr. Clean, it's my new oxygen. I can barely breathe if I step out, chances are I'm living for a week. Creative in my zone, I'm okay with the quarantine. I ain't even mad, it's my only lifestyle. 1200 with the clutch, credit cards maxed out, real shit, it's embarrassing. I'm in love with my own flow, ain't no comparison. Even if I mimic edgy stuff, I would twist it. Hit you with that 3-piece macaroni biscuit. Come close, I got the honey for you, baby. I'm fucked up a little, I don't mean to drive you crazy. Heart to heart feeling is the only thing that saved me. Obsessed with the 90s S, born in the 80s like everybody else. I keep my distance socially. Get your mouth covered up, please, when approaching me like it's supposed to be a stay-at-home order. Can't wait to tear the stage up when this is all over. Hello, radio check 1 2. It's MOECYRUS, all capital letters. Radio 1, are you there? Yo.
All right. So welcome back to Live from the Lair, live from my lair. I'm with Pat. This is our second segment. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is I kind of want to hear a little bit about what Pat's been going through. His experience is much different than mine as far as he is an essential worker, and maybe
Hold your applause.
maybe you can tell us who you're quarantined with as well, and let's start there. Who are you quarantined with, and tell us about your essential work that you're doing.
I'm quarantined with my family, with my wife and our son, and I have my daughter who I have joint custody of. She's over here every Thursday and then every other weekend. So, but in between, I've also been swinging by my mom's house a lot because my wife does work as well, mostly from home, but she does have to go into the office sometimes. She works with people with disabilities, and they don't stop being. It's not like they're less disabled now that there's the coronavirus out there. So she has to swing by the group homes and check on them and stuff. And during those periods, we'll kind of dump the kid over at my mom's.
Okay.
So.
And how's that been going? Because I mean, I would assume your mom's in the 60+ category.
Yeah, 66. Just turned 66. She's in okay health. I feel like old people have seen a lot of shit. My mom remembers when Kennedy was killed and saw a lot of her friends kind of go to Vietnam and not come back, or come back all fucked up, and then she just saw a lot of stuff. And so when something like in the 9/11, and really, I think this is something me and you might have talked about before, our generation just kind of has 9/11 and that's it.
Yeah.
And the younger generation doesn't even really have that. I was 19 when 9/11 happened. Closer to 20, but right around there. It was just out of high school. And this is one of those big kind of cultural shift, civilization changing events. And the older people have seen a couple of these, you know what I mean? They've seen people walk on the moon. They've seen, the advent of all this crazy technology shit that we see every couple of years. So my mom is not really phased too much by all this.
My parents aren't either, and I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I was crying to my parents. My dad's like, well, and we talked about this, your grandmother was quarantined for a month because one of the children in her family had polio.
Polio and shit, yeah.
Her brother had polio when he was 3 or 4. And they were stuck in it for a month, and this was when it was only going to be 2 weeks for us, for lockdown at first. And he's like, if she can do it, you can do it,
Right. And they didn't have Instacart back then. They had to go to the.
He's like, yeah, the neighbors brought flour and sugar and eggs, and that's how they survived for a month, making their own food. And
they fucking took a carrot out of the backyard. Not too many though, because that shit's gotta last. But yeah. So I think my mom, obviously she's not being completely reckless. It's not like she goes around on her days off and licks doorknobs, in motel rooms or anything. But she's what? So the Jewel around here has hours that senior citizens can go to the grocery store. So she'll go to Jewel once a week during that time. And then she'll do little things here and there, like go get gas or run to the bank or take my kid to McDonald's or whatever. Drive through, but
So wait, so you're doing totally opposite. You're okay with getting takeout food.
My life has not changed at all. The biggest way that my life has changed is that there's like no fucking traffic and everyone's going 90 miles an hour. Like that to me is the biggest thing. And I can't get a haircut and the bars are closed, you know.
So are you afraid at all?
You know, so it's interesting. I will say this. So there were a couple things. Number one, there was a 10-day period where I was quarantined. So where I do work, somebody tested positive for the coronavirus, and they came to us and they said, "Hey, look, you guys don't have to." And he tested positive, or well, the last day that he was exposed to us was March 31st. I probably shouldn't be giving the exact dates, but I am. So just so I can keep it straight in my own head. So the last day that he worked with us was March 31st. However, which is a Tuesday. Then he took the rest of that week off because he wasn't feeling well. He gets tested. He finds out on Sunday, April 5th, that he's positive. He tells
like a week before he went and got tested.
Right. Right. So then April 5th, he finds out that he's got it. He reports back to my boss. My boss tells me, okay, don't come into work till we figure this out. We crunch the numbers. They crunch the numbers and they say, okay, well, since the last day you were exposed to him was March 31st, you don't have to return to work till April 15th. Because so I was only off for 10 days. You're supposed to be off for 2 weeks, but like it had been the last day I was exposed to him. We all just kept coming into work because we didn't know. We were like, oh, Henry's not here. And
Right.
little did we know that it's because he was COVIDing out somewhere. So like during what?
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't seen him. We weren't like close.
Yeah.
I know that sounds super cold. I just don't know him. I don't know the dude.
Yeah, okay.
He was just some guy at work. Like I just started working there in January. I don't know these fucking people. So they so when I found out that I was quarantined till the 15th, I did not leave the house because then it was a matter of personal responsibility. Then it was a matter of I could be contagious. I could be infectious. I don't want to be responsible, even inadvertently, from someone else's death because I feel the need to go to fucking Burger King or something. So like for those 10 days, I didn't leave the house and I almost went crazy. I drank more than I probably have this whole time. I mean, and then I had to put a cork in that real quick because I was like, it's going to turn into The Shining around here.
It was because you were stuck with your family where like I can handle it because I'm by myself. Do you think there's like a big difference there?
For me, it was I didn't have anything to do. I was like, I can get fucked up tonight. I don't got to be up tomorrow. I can get fucked up again tonight. I don't got to be up tomorrow. And then I started a blog. Like I realized I had all this time and I was like, okay, well, if I just party, it's just going to get more and more worse, and it's going to get because and then like my kids need me. Like I can't be like all fucked up all the time. Like they're scared. They don't know what's going on, and it doesn't help when like daddy's like all fucked up. So I started doing a Medium, which is like kind of like a live journal or whatever. And then I started to like really like I was working on this like to make sure that this podcast kept going. I did the Tobias Wayland episode. I really like kind of made a list of like, okay, what do we got? There was the 48-hour film project, which I do every year, had a weekend competition that I did with my kids where we made a little short trailer. So like I started using the time productively and to do all the things that I would normally want to do if I didn't, because so many of my friends are like, most of my friends are unemployed or like you, or they're just like stuck at home. And all they're really doing is like getting trashed and live tweeting movies and like hanging out on Twitter, like doing whatever. And it was like, you could be writing the great American novel right now. And trust me, people are like, you'll see all kinds of stuff come out of this. You'll see books, you'll see albums, you'll see who knows what people are off recording and creating right now. Hopefully great works of art that help us make sense of all this insanity.
I'm a creative person, but I haven't felt motivated because I've been kind of paralyzed by the fear. And this is the first, now I think it's kind of set in and I'm at the next stage where like, all right, because at first I was doing stuff around the house before we got put on lockdown. And I wasn't productive like you. Like I was painting, the crew is done with my house in time, thank God. So, I'm doing the touch-up painting and stuff. I don't have all the supplies I need You know, I need gasoline for my lawnmower that I'm afraid to go get. So the lawn's like ankle high right now. But things like that, like I wish I was more productive. And this month, I think is going to be my time. But it's great to see that you're just like making your list and checking things off.
Right. Well, what else was I going to do? Just like go crazy with the people around me. Like at least you're kind of in a vacuum to where you don't have to, wherever your emotions take you in that moment, you can go to. When you're stuck with other people, you can't. One of the examples that I used really kind of early on in all this, just to kind of like, you know, be the dad and be like, listen, you know, I mean, if you think about people in the Navy, they have one of the strictest, before they put you in a submarine, they need to make sure that, you know, your lid's screwed on pretty tight. And the reason being is that there's nothing worse when you're at the bottom of the ocean in a metal tube than somebody going fucking crazy. So, you know, you always got to think about when you're in a situation where you're kind of trapped with other people, you can't really afford to go nuts. You really got to think about the group dynamic and like what's going on around here. And like, if I have an emotional outburst, how does that affect the people around me? And do I suddenly find myself in an echo chamber where I start screaming and they start screaming and they start crying and then all this stuff happens and there's no out, right? We're at the bottom of the ocean in a tube here. So don't be the person in a submarine to lose their shit. Keep it together. Because that's literally the only option you have. And when you look at it like that, when, you know, you talk about like going outside, like what was I going to do? Quit my job? Like there's people out there like crying because they're bartenders and they're not making any income right now. I'm lucky enough to still be working. And for me, the hardest part about that was that and we kind of tried to find the numbers on this and we couldn't find it, but like what percentage of people right now are essential workers, right? Like, and I don't even know if they know how to figure that out, but like there's definitely a percentage of people that are doing the Jeanine thing and there's a percentage of people that are doing the Pat thing. And I assume more people are in your camp than mine, just based on the traffic. So more people I think are sheltering in place. They're not working right now, right? But the thing is that those of us that are working are still exposed to the same virus that your guys are being told to avoid. And it's not what?
There's less people out.
Right, but the thing is, what you're hiding, I don't mean that offensively, but you're hiding from the very thing that I go into every day.
Correct.
How does that fucking make sense? It doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, how is it that like it's okay for me to go to work because of what I have to do? Which let me tell you, I'm not going to go into detail with what I do for a living, but I'm not a firefighter. I'm not a paramedic. I'm not a freaking cop, right? Like, but I'm still deemed like essential. But it's like, I don't know. It's weird, and that's kind of what I wrestled with at first. Was like, well, what the should I be afraid of this? Because if I should be like a rational person would be doing what you're doing, but I'm not allowed to. Like I have to go back out there every day. Right. So then it's literally like catch-22. Like you have to keep flying these missions, and you can't say that you're scared or you can't say that you're crazy. You just have to go do it until you die, and that's when it's over. You know, so it's like there's a meme that I found online that was like, don't call us essential workers, call us the Suicide Squad. And that's honestly what it feels like. It's like, well, I'm just going to fucking do this. But what I've noticed, the more I go out and the more I do this, is that there's actually less to be afraid of. And and that's when I know we don't really want to get political and too much and start talking about like, you know, whatever, but I really have to feel like I understand why we're doing this, and if it saves lives, then it's all worth it. But I think the byproduct is that a lot of people are becoming very unnecessarily paranoid about the outside world, and I don't know. That's my 2 cents, you know.
And we'll kind of, I mean, I don't know how strapped for time we are, but what we can, I want to talk about 2 things. So,
okay.
Number 1, I want to make sure, like, my thought is everyone will get this. You have, in order to build immunity, you have to get this. So whether you're asymptomatic or you react badly to it or in the hospital, you will get this. If you haven't already had it, you know, in your system already. That is the only way to build immunity. The sad reality, not to be like a Debbie Downer, they're not going to get a vaccine, fast track a vaccine within the next 2 months, let alone the next 2 years. You and I were talking about the polio vaccine took decades to come up with something, you know?
There's still no HPV, for most strains, and there's no AIDS vaccine, and there's no herpes. You're just fucking stuck with that.
Right. And so like that's
well, not me, but like other people. Not talking about you, Jeanine. I'm talking about people in general.
Right.
dirty dogs that, yeah.
There's all these viruses out there.
Right. That we can't cure everything,
And then the other thing, just kind of doing research and looking up numbers, when we were talking about this episode, I came across something, I think it was yesterday, and again, not to get political or into, too deep into things, but there was something I read, it was in, I cited it somewhere, I might have to go back and look, but basically they're saying that the news does sensationalize things because nobody will pay attention if they don't kind of make it a big deal. So, I get it. They're like showing people, with ventilators and tubes coming all out, and that's freaking me out. And they're showing people on the front lines, and, there's stories of, dead bodies in the hallways of hospitals, and we don't know what's true. And that's kind of why I wanted to put together this specific episode where we can talk to people from all around and see what's going on in these cities that, they're claiming these certain things. But I understand that journalism is a job, and again, they have to sensationalize it to a certain percentage, but the article was talking about there has to be like a happy medium. So you can't really freak people out to where they're hoarding toilet paper, but then you can't really downplay it and say only 0.1% of the people, so far is what we're coming up with statistically are actually dying from this disease, or this virus rather. So they're finding that happy medium to freak us out enough to where the Jeanines of the world are like, fuck this, we're staying in, we're not getting this disease. But then the Pats of the world are like out there every day because they're essential. And like you said, now you're looking around, you're like, well, shit, I've been out here for a month and a half and nothing's happened to me. So either A, I've already got it in my system and I've had it, because I know you too said you were sick for a while.
Yeah, I forgot about that because we didn't structure my segment the same way we did yours. But yeah, second week of February I was deathly ill for like 10 days.
So you were sick, right? I wasn't coughing.
Yeah, it was bronchitis kind of. I had gone camping with my son's Cub Scout troop, and we stayed in a cave in western Wisconsin, Eagle Cave. And came out of that and was just like, near death, so feverish, crazy night sweats, and like ridiculous dreams, and like could barely breathe, and was super like just in terrible condition, and took a course of antibiotics and beat it. And it was a while. I had to take some days off. It was not fun. And if I had been, I quit smoking last year. So if I had been a smoker, if I was still smoking and still vaping and stuff, or if I was in even worse health, not like I'm in terrible health, but I'm definitely not, the pinnacle of human fucking perfection. But if I had been older, I could see how it would, if that was it, I could definitely see how that would kill people that, had breathing problems or were smokers or were just old and shit. Because it knocked me on my ass, and it knocked me on my ass, and knocked my wife on her ass, and my kid was fine, but he gave it to my mom, and my mom was knocked on her ass too, and she's 65. And all three of us were not in good shape for about 2 weeks, and then we bounced back and we're good. So I don't know if that was it. I haven't done the antibody test. There's actually one of those testing centers, the one in Markham, is very close to my house. I mean, I drive past them setting it up on my way to work every day. And if it wasn't for the fact that test looks like an alien abduction fucking nightmare, I would do it because it's right there and I could. But
because all the tents that are up, like
did you see what they stick up your nose?
No, that's the test to get to be diagnosed with COVID.
Right.
Antibodies is a blood test.
No, but that's what they're doing over there. They're not doing the antibody test by me. They're doing the, and I am not I would rather unknowingly infect tons of people then have to I'm going to be selfish and say, I ain't fucking doing that unless they make it.
That's only the test to see if you have it.
Well, yes, but that's what 16,000 people a day are getting, is that. The antibody test is only at a couple different places.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
We all need, though. We all need to get the antibody test eventually to see who's had it, who hasn't had it. I had a friend in Buffalo who, like you, has a story, was very sick, and he went to go with the antibodies test, and there's very few available, even in Buffalo, in New York. And he said it's almost like a pop-up, and they don't tell you where it's going to be till like the day of, and you call a number, and they'll say, you know, it's going to be on this corner, and then it's
like going to a rave in the 90s, yeah.
Right. So, and then you stand in line, and only the first, 200 people get this test, and he got tested, and he did not have the antibodies, and he really thought he had it. So, but that's what people need to do.
I'm not, this is just Pat O'Sullivan's 2 cents on this. I am not rushing out to get tested anytime soon. I think that there's people that are more concerned that it's more important if there's only a few of these things, let them get it first. If they come to me and they tell me that I got to get it done, I'll get it done. I'm not going to, head for fucking Canada or anything, but like, I'm not there yet. And, with the antibody test and all that stuff, sometimes they rush things to market. And I'm not worried about it like backfiring and hurting me, but I'll take version 3. I don't feel the need to line up at 5 a.m. like I'm getting Metallica tickets, to get this test that I don't want to have happen, and then find out that, well, it was inconclusive because you took one of the earlier ones when our methods weren't exactly proven yet, and I'll wait, but that's the way I look at it, like with the masks too, which I know we got to get to the guests, but like with the whole mask thing, I did not immediately gravitate towards wearing a mask everywhere I go. You don't have to worry about that because you don't leave the house. As someone that's leaving the house on a regular basis, the mask thing was something that me and my wife discussed at length several times, because at first it was like people were wearing masks and that was weird. And it was like, what the fuck? Like, like half the people at the store, half the people at the Jewels had a mask on. Like, should I be wearing a mask? I don't know. And then you go back again and you're like, 2/3 of the people at the Jewels had the mask on. And I felt like a scumbag because I didn't have one on. And then you go back the third time and like you're just wearing the mask, and then you come home and you're like, oh my god, I had to wear a mask, and it's like, that's like demoralizing. It really is. And these people that are like refuse to do it, I get it. I'm not saying I'm one of them, and I'm not saying that I would die on that hill, but it's some shit to have to wrap your head around, to admit to yourself that even though you don't want to, the government is telling you that you have to wear a mask to go pick up a loaf of bread and a thing of milk.
Right.
It's some shit. And I get that people are freaking out about it. And it's a hard thing to have to admit, because a lot of people, I think, are in denial about this whole thing, because they're like, oh, this isn't real. It's not happening. I'm on paid vacation anyway. Who gives a shit? I'm working from home because I have a computer job. And then they go out and they have to put on PPE to do like basic stuff. And it just becomes all the more real to them, and they don't want to have to face that,
So a couple things, and I just want to make sure, like, factual things. And I see where you're coming from. The mask is to protect others. So as long as
I get that, yeah.
It's not protecting you. So if you choose not to wear a mask, unfortunately, like, you're the asshole that's probably spreading it.
Right.
It's not like, oh, I choose not to be protected because I don't believe it's happening. So that's one thing. I also want to go back and touch on the testing. So again, if you don't have symptoms, you don't get the up the nose test, because there's no point. It's going to come out negative because you probably don't actually have COVID. Now, a lot of people are asymptomatic, so you'll
get lucky sometimes, yeah.
Right. So of the like, I think we've surpassed the 10,000 goal here in Illinois of 10,000 tests. But of those 10,000 tests, look at how many are actually coming out positive. It's like 10,000 tests and 2,000 positive, or 10,000 tests and 1,000. Every day it's like a really low number of positive from that 10 or 11,000 that they're doing every time. So people, like you said, it's allergy season, or they've got the sniffles and they're going out there, or they're paranoid and, you know, just want to make sure they don't have it. That's not the test you get. The test you get is the antibodies test.
But that's even more rare right now. Yeah.
Right. It's more rare, and it's not 100%. So again, referencing my friend in Buffalo, he said that there's like a 50 or 60%, false negative, I guess it would be. So like you could be negative.
Don't look at me. I didn't talk to him. You're asking me like I'm gonna correct you. I don't know this man. He's never been in my kitchen.
I think is how it is. But basically, he could have still had it.
I get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're right. Wait for version 3, because right now version 1, 2 is not going to be 100%.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing about the test is that I thought about it and I was like, look, because if it's negative, you could be like, well, maybe I already had it, or maybe it wasn't right. The only time that test is worth a damn is if it comes out and it says you got it.
Right.
And then all that would mean for me is that everybody I work with gets another 10 days or whatever off. And then we come back and we do it all over again. Like, that's the thing is now we go to work and we're like, so someone want to get it? Cause that like break was kind of nice. And we're just going to have to keep doing this. That's what I do. I go to work every day until someone else gets sick, and then I get 10 days off, and then I come back, you know.
Horrible. It's kind of like, I think I told somebody, I compared it to HPV. So HPV is a virus.
It is. How do you?
Usually it's sexually transmitted, but
okay.
you're usually asymptomatic. So you have all these people.
HPV?
Shut up. So you have all these people running around who with HPV, but they don't know they have it until it causes cancer or genital warts, right? So nobody cares that they're running around having sex with everyone until you get the genital warts or the cancer, right? It's kind of like the virus. Nobody cares that they're spreading COVID all over because they're asymptomatic until those people start dying, you know, of the disease. So that's kind of was my analogy to kind of explain it to everyone. Like, you don't have to wear a condom, but it's still going to spread. You know what I'm saying? That
right.
It's spread. And you might not be the one that gets the genital warts, but you're spreading it. And let's be honest, the more times you don't use the condom, the more likely you are to eventually get it. It's kind of like that. So that's my explanation of how this virus spreads and why wearing a mask is important, no matter if you have symptoms, don't have symptoms, you're young, you're old, whatever. Just wear the damn mask. And gloves don't work, we've established, right? They're only one time use.
I don't know. But you know what? I just want to thank you for hijacking my segment with your genital warts analogy.
HPV analogy.
Right.
I want to make sure everyone gets it, because
we're supposed to be talking about me, and like, you know, you almost cried during yours, and I did not get that much of an opportunity to like open up emotionally. This time is like my time, and you just like totally took it over to talk about fucking the shit that grows on your pussy. Like,
not on mine, but I just
right.
Well, not yet, because no. But seriously, like, I feel like so many people. I mean, and I'm going to ask you, like, I have a lot of friends that are like, it's just like the flu, and they don't comprehend it, or they're in denial. Do you see a lot of neighbors or friends in your area that are still out and about?
Final question, and then we're going to cut it. You know what? No, my neighbor, I'm very good friends with one of my neighbors. I knew him before we bought this house, and he is a store manager for Jewel. So he is like at ground zero, and you know, he's another member of the Suicide Squad. Me and him have gotten together and had garage beers once or twice, and kept, you know, kind of distance, and then got drunk and like took pictures of like us, you know. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think if you go out there, you kind of have this fuck it mentality, and you definitely don't want to, and you're not going to go like candy striping old folks home, but you kind of, you know, you realize where you're at, and you're going to hang out with people that are also kind of similarly fucked. I have a lot of friends that are, you know, I think a lot of people are shamed into acting like they're all. I believe that you have not left your house in 6 weeks. I know you haven't. I think that a lot of people on social media are downplaying how much they do go out because they're afraid of the hashtag stay the fuck home backlash that they'll get. I'll end with this, and then we got to cut because we got to get the guests in here. But I had I think this kind of personifies like where I honestly feel most people are at that are not me. I had a friend that had a herniated disc in her back, and she needed to go and get basically a steroid shot, right, to make her back feel better, right? And that, for whatever reason, that doctor's office is closed. They're not doing it right now. You got to wait until this shit blows over. And she took to Twitter and was like, this is fucking bullshit. I'm living in pain now because these people are going out and jogging or whatever, hashtag stay the fuck home. And I saw that, and I wasn't trying to get into an online argument, but I was like, do you mean stay the fuck home or open the fuck back up? Because the doctors that are supposed to be giving you this shot are staying the fuck home. And that's the problem, is that you need medical attention and you're not getting it because everybody is staying the fuck home. But what you need is for everyone to go back to work because you need that shot so that you're not in pain all the time. Right. So really, what do you want to see happen here? And I think what a lot of people want to see happen is for everything just to open back up, and that's what we need collectively, is for this all to for us to rebuild and regroup, and let's figure out what happens next. And I think that what some people, the extent of what they feel they can do is literally just, well, I guess I'll just sit on my couch and this whole thing will eventually go away. And once again, I don't have that luxury. I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning regardless every single day and go to work. Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like it's such a weird time, and I totally lost my point. I don't know what I was going for.
Well, maybe
I'm just kind of rambling now. let's cut this. Can we do a musical break?
Yeah, let's go ahead. We've got
let's do that. All right.
Some, great Chicago MCs that have been doing our music. So let's go ahead and cut to them, and then we'll bring in our guests, and we'll move forward.
Hopping out the water like the Loch Ness, running, jumping hurdles for the progress. Got tired of seeing my mama so stressed. Hungry in the ring, waiting for a contest. If you want a nigga, come and get it. Patty won't straight jacket how I'm so committed. I've been on a different path, different type of zone. Got pussy flying at me like a fucking drone. Hit my beeper, cops listening on the mobile phones. Bitch call me E.T. Why? Cause I'm going home. Never slip, but I might stumble. I done seen crack fiends barefoot calling Bonnie Rubble. 16, I've been self-made, self-paid. Back when the man once had the blue suede. Imagine how I really want my lifestyle. For your comments, I might give a slight smile. Hey, what's up, man? It's AM Early Morning. Shout out to Live from the Lair, man. I appreciate y'all. Peace.